Today we're doing a deep dive into Camp Ross and why it may just be the perfect Cub Scout summer camp for you. So, stay tuned. If you're new to this channel, we're on a mission to inspire and inform new scouting parents and adult leaders, and today we're going to be talking about Camp Ross, which is a part of the Goshen Scout Reserve out here in the National Capital Area Council. This video is going to be long.
That's what she said.
So I'm going to leave some timestamps down below, but we're going to start off with what is Camp Ross and what is the Goshen Scout Reservation. So the Goshen Scout Reservation is a compilation of different camps, specifically Camp Bowman, Marriott, Olmsted, and Lahoxton, I think is how you pronounce it, and Camp Ross, which is in Western Virginia, which is part of the National Capital Area Council. Now, I've been going here for the last 2 years because this camp is specifically for Cub Scouts, and I obviously have Cub Scout aged children. Its mission is to give all Weeblos an introduction into scouting in this fun-filled week. So our 4th and 5th graders are going to be able to do a week-long overnighter, so that's 7 days and 6 nights. So staff composition is going to have a couple of different tiers. You're going to have your CITs, which is, I believe, counselors in training, which is like 13 and 14 and I think 15-year-olds. And then you have the older staffers, which are like your 15, 16, 17, and obviously 18-year-olds that they are getting paid a little bit, those older ones, but the other ones, the CITs, are purely volunteers. And then you have adults that are there that are the professional scouters that are running the big items for the camp. Since a lot of them are volunteers, I want to reiterate that you do want to be nice to them because there's a lot of things that are happening that are well outside their control. So just make sure you keep that in mind. I think you'll be very surprised by how mature these scouts are because they really do run a lot of these different programs and they do so in a very mature manner. Now let's talk about the actual camp composition. So hopefully editing Matt is putting a map up here on the screen, and we're going to talk about a couple of different things. The first one is going to be the admin building itself. So the admin building is the main hub for information and also for first aid. They do have a on-duty first aider who's somebody who can do the minor bumps, scrapes, and bruises and stuff like that. Poison ivy is a common one. They also have an on-call EMT, and there is an RN over at Camp Post. And if things really do get bad, there is an urgent care within 30 minutes and they are able to call an ambulance. The admin is also where you're going to be doing the check-in on the first day. It's where the adult meetings are going to be held, and I'm going to talk about that here a little bit more in a minute. There is also a staff lounge there, so it's very common to see staff going in and out of there. And this is also the hub for the internet. Yes, I said internet because the camp does have Wi-Fi in the dining facility and also over there at the admin building, just not really anywhere else. Adjacent to the admin building is the parade field. This is where you're going to do your daily meetups for breakfast, for dinner, flag ceremonies, the passing of information, the film on grace, and the continual running story. Now, the continual running story goes along with whatever theme has been picked for the camp for that year. Last year, it was like an Indiana Jones sort of feeling, and then this year, it was like Greek gods or something, so they do a act at the beginning of breakfast and then at dinner and then also at like the opening campfire and then at the closing campfire. So across on the opposite side of the parade field is going to be the Gaga Ball pit, and if your scouts have never played Gaga Ball, don't worry, there will be plenty of other scouts there that are going to teach them. Just know that it does get kind of heated in there and it's not uncommon to see a scout come out covered in dust and maybe a bloody nose or two. It's very uncommon, but it does happen, so just be aware of that. Adjacent to the flagpole is the dining facility where you're going to be getting all of your meals, and it's a big, large open bay with tables and a fully staffed kitchen. Now, the tables are going to depend on how many people you've brought in your group. So if you have a very large group like we did, you're going to get 2 tables. If you have a small group, you might be sharing a table with somebody else, but it will be marked accordingly. I'm going to talk more about how food is handled here in a minute because that is a bigger section. Right next to the dining facility is the trading post, which is probably going to be your kids' favorite place to go to. There they can buy clothing, walking sticks, food, candy, water bottles, crafts, and of course slushies, because in that Virginia heat, the kids really do love their slushies. Just know that you're going to be constantly asked, hey, when does the trading post open? When is the trading post closed? Can we go to the trading post? And all manners of things like that. So, be aware of that. Let's talk about where you're actually going to be sleeping, which is at the campsites. And the campsites are broken up into different numbers with also like sub campsites inside of them. So if you're over at 6, you might be at 6A, and then another pack is at 6B, and then another one is at 6C. And what kind of all links you guys together is the singular bathroom, which I'll talk about here in a minute. The tent tents are canvas on top of a wooden platform, but just know that these are like open air gap platforms and not everything is totally like tied down. So there is a chance that bugs are going to get in there and that weather can. So make sure you are acting accordingly and preparing accordingly for that. So just know that some of the campsites, like the ones that we were in this year, does have a very uphill both ways kind of feeling, because every time we wanted to go from the main camp back to where we were actually sleeping, we had to go up this hill right here, which after you're doing, you know, sometimes 8, 9, 10 miles a day and walking, especially for our younger scouts, that last little bit can be kind of demoralizing, but just know that it's out there and it is very, very manageable. All right, I did kind of gloss over the bathrooms, but the bathrooms are these fine shacks with holes in the ground and toilet seats on top of them. The various sub-sites are responsible for cleaning the bathrooms, so you'll have to work out a schedule with the other sites to say, hey, you take it on a Tuesday, you take it on Wednesday, and I'll take it on Thursday, and then you guys rotate as appropriately. Now, if you are an adult or a staffer, you can utilize the adult and staff bathrooms, which are down by where the showers are at. Those are actually, you know, porcelain and flushing and everything like that, but they legitimately only are for the adults and staffers, so just know that. These are right next to the showers. The showers are single stalls with vents, and while the vents have been updated, they really don't pump out as much moisture and heat as you would like. And yes, you do get hot water there, however, you know, it's like 90 with 90% humidity, so sometimes the hot water isn't exactly what you want. But just know that it is very heavy mineralized well water there, so it does leave this kind of tan filament everywhere, so just know that the kids are going to look at it and some of them are screaming, oh my god, it looks like a murder scene. Another thing that I didn't get a chance to really get any footage of is the chapel. Right next to where the parade field is, kind of tucked away, is an outdoor chapel, and there is an interfaith service that is held on, I believe it is Thursday. Finally, the last area that is not a program area is going to be the campfire circle. This is located right at the lakeside, and this is where you will host your opening and closing campfire, which we will discuss here in a moment, but that is the area where the actual event is hosted. All right, now let's get into the actual program areas. This is where you're going to spend a majority of your time with your scouts, doing the different activities, earning the pins, and all the different stuff out there. So you have Scoutcraft, and Scoutcraft is exactly as it sounds. You're gonna learn things like knot tying, shelter building, fire building, and most importantly, knife safety. You do have to take a knife safety class while you're there to allow your scouts to either purchase a pocket knife or to get what was their totem chip and is now their different adventures with the knife. So whatever the requirements are for AOLs or for Weeblos, they do take care of that, so you're all good to go for the rest of the year. Adjacent to the parade field is going to be the handicraft area. So the handicraft area is where they get to make some cool stuff. They can do things like leatherworking, tie-dye, and they do some other bits of arts and crafts. Just know that this open bay area is kind of where they'll be doing all that, and it's pretty cool to do some tie-dye with the kids. So let's head on down lakeside where the aquatics is going to be happening. As I said, this is Lake Marriott, so the kids are going to have to do things like safe swim, they're going to have to do the BSA swim test, and they're going to have to learn some rescuing techniques in order to finish out their adventure pins while they're here. They also get to do things like boating, paddle boarding, and even this year they had a water trampoline, which they didn't last year, so that's fun to see the kids jumping off of that, sliding down. It's just a great time. Next is going to be the nature area, and as it sounds, the scouts are going to learn about the outdoor code, and they're even going to go on a hike with the staff out there to learn how to orient a map and how to read trails and such. They're also going to be able to interact with all sorts of different creatures like spiders and snakes, and they'll even do a turtle race later on in the week if you sign up for it. The scouts can also sign up for fishing later on in the week, and they'll be hosted through the nature side, so just know that that is out there. Which brings us to the two ranges that are here at Camp Ross. So you have your archery range where the scouts can send arrows down range and maybe even earn the coveted golden arrow, or they can go to the BB range where they get to learn about firearm safety and range etiquette and get to earn the coveted golden BBs. All right, with all the program areas knocked out, let's head back to the dining facility to talk about how all of the food will be handled, and that includes breakfast and dinner, and I'll talk about how lunch is a little bit different here in a second. So all of the meals are family style, as in all of the food is set out by a waiter den, which is something that you can sign up for, where they go into the kitchen, they grab the food and the utensils, and they set it out on your table in front of you. So this is done right before breakfast and for dinner, before everybody meets up outside for like the flag ceremonies and such. And once all the stuff is there and the scouts sit down to eat, it really is expected that they serve themselves and pass the food around. That's the whole family style. So take this as an opportunity that if your scouts aren't used to like serving themselves or something along those lines, that they get a chance to practice these skills. You know, there are going to be some messes, but don't worry, because then they're also going to learn how to clean it up, because at the very end of the meal, usually around 30 minutes, one of the staffers will jump up and they will have everybody join them in a song. It's usually like a sing-along or repeat after me song, and once it's all done, that marks the end of the meal, and the scouts are expected to get up, go over, start clearing their table, clearing all the dishes, taking them back into the kitchen, and even grabbing the buckets, wiping down the tables, and sweeping underneath. So it is interesting to see scouts who have never held a broom before sit there and try to sweep and do all that, and they're really learning those skills. So I say all that for breakfast and for dinner, because lunch is going to be sandwiches. They're just going to set the stuff there. There's no song, nothing like that. You just eat and then you go about your activities for whatever you have set up for that day. And the only caveat for the meals is going to be on Tuesday is the tinfoil dinner. Now, the tinfoil dinner is just as it sounds. You will be given all of your materials, and you will go back to camp, you'll build a fire, and then you'll have to cook these meals via tinfoil. So this is an opportunity for scouts who by this point have been trained on how to use a knife safely, and they'll cut their own, I believe it was like kielbasa and potatoes and bell peppers and stuff like that, spray down a bag, fold it, and then they'll be able to cook it on top of a fire that they help build, and really get some camaraderie because everybody's working together on it, and it really is a cool thing to see. But hey, if you like what I'm doing here, do all that great YouTube stuff down below, and you'll also find some of my Amazon affiliate links, which means that if you click and buy your very own Mosquito Oasis, which was a game changer this year at Camp Ross, I do receive a small commission, and you are helping grow this channel. But the best thing that you can do to help this channel grow is to share this video with all of your scouting friends. Finally, if you'd like to ask me a question live on air, stop on by Scout or Sans channel this Sunday and every first Sunday of the month for the campfire chat. But with that, let's get back to the video. All right, so let's talk about day one arrival. You will be arriving on a Sunday, and once you get there, you're gonna go ahead and check in with the admin crew over at, you guessed it, the admin building. While you're there, you're going to hand over your BSA, medical forms, part A, B, and C, and they're going to sit down with you and every single scout and go over your medical profile to make sure that you don't have any sort of special conditions that they need to be aware of, like insulin or EpiPens or anything like that. This is also going to be where you drop off your equipment. If you're in one of the further sites like we were this year, they will bring a truck up and they'll load everything and they'll drop it off at your campsite, which you will then meet your troop guide or troop guides. The troop guide's responsibility is to make sure that you're checked in, and that if there is a line for the medical process, that they allow you to go to like the trading post and all these other different areas. But their main purpose is to give you a tour of the camp. So they'll take you and they'll lead you around and show you where all the different program areas are that we just talked about. As I said, adults do have to attend adult meetings, and there is one, I think, pretty much every single day while you're at a camp, and I do highly recommend that you attend every single one of them just so you have the best information possible. And some of them you really do have to attend because that's how you're going to get your schedule. For example, on Sunday, that's where you're going to get your Monday and Tuesday schedule like I have here, where they've already pre-filled out all the different activities that you're going to be doing for those 2 days. Because on Monday, you get to select your own activities, and they need time to process them. They'll give you a sheet like this that has all the different activities for the different program areas that we have talked about. And you can sign up for things like the polar plunge, rock climbing, different service projects, some of the hikes that I'm going to talk about here in a moment. That's where you get to sign up for those activities. On Tuesday, you'll receive your schedule, like I have right here, that's printed out with everything that you want to do. So they do print it out for you, so you don't have to worry about all of that. On Wednesday, they tend to have a scout executive come out. And then finally, on Thursday is reconciliation, which just means If you haven't paid yet, that's your last chance to pay. And then also sign up for next year if your pack does decide to go back to Camp Ross the next year. All right, as I said, on Monday, you do get to pick your own adventures for the remainder of the week. And you should want to do a little bit of pre-planning before you get there. And what I want you to do, head on over to the Camp Ross website, look at the adventures that they're offering, and kind of lay out what you think that your scouts are going to want to accomplish, because some of the activities you are able to fully complete while you're there, and there are some that are only partials, and you do have some requirements once you get back home. Now, there are 3 activities that I really do want you guys to consider because I think that they're really, really cool. And number 1 is going to be Viewing Rock. And Viewing Rock is a 3-mile round trip hike up to this overlook where you get to see all of Lake Meriwether. And once you're at the top, all the scouts get to yell "Ross is boss" really, really loud, and it echoes back and forth. There are a couple of warnings that I want to put out there. Number 1 is that the only bathroom is available at the trailhead, so make sure you're packing TP, make sure that your scouts are prepared to, be one with nature out there. 2, that there are very technical areas along the trail where some of the scouts are going to have to hoist their bodies up, or maybe be assisted by an adult, or on the way down they have to sit down and kind of slide down on their butts. Just know that this may be probably one of the hardest hikes that some of these scouts have done in their lives, so just be prepared for that. Another scout favorite is going to be the watering hole. So a short walk from Camp Post, which I'll talk about here in a minute. You head down this ATV trail, you head down this beautiful open valley, and you get to this just beautiful river that scouts over the years have been putting rocks in there, and it speeds up the water a little bit, so they get in inner tubes and they get to fly down the water, they get to splash around and just have a great time. For this one, there is a porta potty there is a table, so you do get to grab food from the kitchen prior to leaving, and that's where you'll have your snacks and your lunch and stuff. Which brings us to the Camp Post, and the Camp Post is another trading post, but just on the main area. So you do get to stop off there on the way to the swimming hole. You don't have to sign up for it or anything like that. And they do have some additional Goshen swag inside there, and they do have a little cool historical museum, I guess we'll call it. And then on the other side are some flags where you can take some pictures. So I do recommend those 3 if you are considering doing any of them during the week. Which brings us to the notable events and opportunities. First off, you're going to have an opening campfire on Sunday when you arrive. The scouts will meet up with the staff at the flagpole, and everybody will head down to the campfire area, and then the staff will put on a show. They'll light the fire, they'll do their continual story and all that. They'll do a bunch of different skits, and they'll really introduce these Cub Scouts to what they can expect on their scouting journey for the next couple of years. Now, if it does rain out, they do a thing called an ice melt, which did happen this year, where all the scouts go into the dining facility, they put some ice in tubs, and they do all of the same skits and songs and activities in order to just keep everything alive and having fun. Now, there is also a closing campfire, which we did get a chance to do this year. So the staff will once again gather up all the scouts. They'll take them down to the campfire area. They do all the songs and skits, and then they close out by saying, "Hey, thank you for coming here. We hope you guys had a great time, and we hope to see you all in the future." There is another special campfire, which is only for the AOLs, and that's the AOL campfire. The AOLs will meet up at the flagpole. They'll get taken out to a completely different fireside ring that's near Scoutcraft. And while they're there, they get to talk about, crossing over into the troop. They get fed a little cobbler, and they just get to have a very special experience that's only for them, because they are at this transitioning point in their life, and it's a really cool experience for them. Another event is going to be a giant game of hide and seek that's called the staff hunt. So the staff, they will all meet up right before dinner, and then they will disperse and go to different areas around the camp. And then the scouts will be given a sheet, and as a pack or as a den, they will run out there and they will try to find as many staff members as they can. The staff can't go higher than 6 feet off the ground or 10 feet off the trail, and they're not allowed to obviously be alone with the scouts at any point in time. But it is a really cool activity that gets the scouts up and running and really gets them motivated to want to just go explore the entirety of the camp. On one of the nights, they are going to have what's called a star party, so they'll bring out a telescope, and as long as the weather is good, they'll point to all the different planets that you can see, the different constellations, and it's a really cool experience for those scouts who really like STEM, or have a big interest in space. So that's another good one to go ahead and check out. You don't need to sign up for that one. You just have to show up to the flagpole on the day that it is hosted. On, I believe it is Thursday, is the Interfaith Service. That's where you can go over to the chapel that I talked about, and you get to have a non-denominational interfaith service with other scouts. I didn't personally attend it this year, but I did hear that it's awesome and that they do give out free books over at the trading post, and you can earn an additional patch while you're there for your duty to God. So another thing that you can earn while you're out at Goshen. One of the biggest activities out at Camp Ross is actually going to be the open program, which falls on the second half, so everything afternoon on Friday. So your scouts will go do whatever it is that they're going to do in the morning, and then after lunch, they are expected to kind of go forth and go wherever it is that they want and do whatever activity they want. So as long as they're in pairs, at least this is how we run it, you can have scouts that they go down to the waterfront and they'll do free swim for about 10-15 minutes, and then they'll run over to the nature area to go do turtle racings, and then they'll head on over to Scoutcraft to build shelters, and then they'll head on over to the Handicraft area and they can do tie-dyes, leather working, all that cool stuff. But it's just a free-for-all pretty much. So as long as they have a buddy and they're acting in a safe and scoutly manner, they're able to go pretty much wherever they want until about dinner time. Now the final optional thing is going to be a service project. So a service project is meant to better the camp in some way, and sometimes it's things as simple as, like, we've replaced shower curtains in the changing area that's adjacent to the waterfront, and then somebody came behind us and they actually built doors on the changing area. So it can be as little or as big as you want. This year we ended up taking one of the cleaning services for the shower. So all the scouts, we went in there, we pulled everything out of the showers, we gave them a good scrub down, rinsed them out, left them open to dry, so that way all the showers would go, and that was a service project that we did. But you'll see a bunch of different things around there that are handmade. Like there's some bridges, there's all these other things that are really, really intricate, and they'll have like a pack or a troop on there that is the ones who hosted and actually put that stuff out there. So that's another thing that you can do while you're out at Camp Ross. So your last day is your day of departure, which is going to be Saturday morning. This is going to be an early morning because you're expected to get up, already have pretty much a majority of your gear loaded into the car Friday night before you go to the campfire, and then you just swing by the dining facility, you grab your packet with your patch and all of your medical forms, and then you just check out and you're good to go. So that's pretty much all there is on the last day. It's an early morning, so just be aware of that. And that is our video. Are you ready to register for camp? If so, check out these pro items right here in this video or in the link down below. But with that, I've been Matt with the Roaming Scouter, and I'll see you out there.